Hello, my name is Jordan Hewlett, and I am excited to share with you the things that I have learned through my research on the effects of personalized study plans and their effect on AP French scores. I decided to do this project because I was a new teacher and I wanted to make sure that my students were able to receive the most effective form of instruction. And after my first year of teaching, I was surprised that the AP scores that my students had received were not as high as I had wanted to. So I wanted to find a way to be more effective and to deliver that instruction. I asked myself, is it possible that individualized study plans could improve the number of students who receive a passing score on the AP French Language and Culture exam? Individualized study plans, as again says here, help students to take ownership of their learning environment. At this age, teenagers are looking for ways of being autonomous, to have more control over their lives and to be more independent. And according to the National Department of Education, these study plans are a great way to do this because the students will have access to support from adults while still being able to have control over what they do and the outcomes of what they do. There is one key factor in study plans, according to the U.S. Department of Education, and that is adult support is key. If a personalized study plan does not have an adult supporting them and guiding them, a study plan will most likely end up at the bottom of their backpack and never seen again. So students are able to create a personalized study plan along with an adult and be supported. And with that, it's a good roadmap to help them get to their goals. The Advanced Placement program is very accessible here in the United States. There are 22,000 programs nationwide at different schools, and students are able to take up 38 different curricula. There are 38 different subjects that are tested, and it is up to the school to decide which tests are administered through their school. But because of how accessible these programs are, students around the nation are using the advanced placement as a way of gaining college credit because they are able to take more rigorous classes than the standard regular high school classes, and then at the end take an exam that could possibly earn them college credit and save them thousands of dollars in their university experience. The AP World Language and Culture exams, there are 6 different languages that are tested, and nationwide, more and more students are taking these exams every year. However, in the state of Utah itself, our students are flocking to these classes and flocking to these exams. One of the articles that I read stated that the reason why there was this uptick in advanced placement test in the state of Utah was because of the dual immersion language program. And that's because the students start studying in the target language and in English in the beginning of their elementary school years, and they are able to take the AP test their freshman year of high school, and then leaving it open for them to take other classes or learn another language on top of that. However, when I heard the stat that 122% more students are taking the French Foreign World Language and Culture exam, I assumed that it was because of the advanced placement. And then I realized that that statistic was released by College Board in 2017, and that in 2017, the French dual immersion students were still in middle school. So our average student in the school is now more likely to take a language exam, and it's not just because of one factor, but it's because our students really do have a desire to learn how to communicate in other languages. I use the Apple, the Assessment of Performance Towards Proficiency in Languages, to work as a baseline in my study. And this is an assessment that is a performance assessment. The students have this graphic here that tells them what topics they will need to be able to talk about, write about, listen, and read about. And then also the assessment, there are practice assessments online. So with the practice assessment and this graphic, a student could sit down and really figure out with some accuracy the types of questions that will be asked of them, and they'll be able to study for that exam. A performance assessment is a traditional end of unit exam where students have done homework and assignments and classwork and taken quizzes and are now at this moment for the summative exam. They know what they need to do. They know where they need to, what they need to say and do and write after each question. And so they sit down, they read the question, and they answer it the way that they've practiced. And that is a performance assessment, and that is what the Apple is. However, the advanced placement assessment is a performance assessment in the fact that the College Board, the governing body over advanced placement, they have given out 8 themes that all of their questions will tie back into. So the students do have somewhat of a guide knowing what kind of things to study, and that all of the questions will tie back to one or more of the 8 themes. The AP also does publish practice exams for students so that students do have a way of preparing themselves for the assessment and for the structure of the exam. However, it is also a proficiency exam because the students do not know in what context those themes will be used, and they don't know when they will need to use certain knowledge that they have gained over the years. So instead of having it be an end of the unit, memorize these things and then take the test, they have to draw on the years of experience that they have to accomplish the tasks on the exam. The 2 exams are different because the AP exam is a performance and a proficiency exam, whereas the Apple is just a performance exam. And so, as you can see by this table, there are similarities in the wording of what each score in both tests looks like. And according to ACTFL, there is anecdotal evidence to suggest that a 3, the basic passing grade on the AP exam, is similar to the Apple intermediate mid-level. So as you can see, a student is generally understandable in their speech, and over here at the Apple exam, you easily use your language to express your thoughts, and you can get things you need and you want, and then teachers and people who are used to the language of language learners will be able to understand you. So you're generally understandable. So you can see that there are similarities in the mark schemes of these 2 exams. So for my study, there were some key things that made a difference. Of course, the school itself is a larger school. It has over 2,000 students enrolled. The AP program is very strong in the school, and 500 to 700 exams are given each year out of the school. And a very big emphasis is put on these advanced classes. The AP class itself is located in the main building of the school. It is an older building, and the classroom is in a windowless, dreary room and is covered in French art to hopefully mitigate the lack of sun. and the class is always at second period on A day. It is an A day, B day split schedule at the school. So classes are 90 minutes long, and they come to end every other day. So A day, second period, which is about 9:30 to 11 every day. Every other day, the students come to class. The teacher was me, and I had in 2017 a preparation period that coincided with the students' lunch period, so they were able to come in for feedback and questions and personalized instruction. And that was not the case in 2018 and 2019. There were 60 students that were looked at. Their ages were between 16 and 18. 4 of them were heritage speakers and already spoke French to some fluency. Their educational background with the language was different. Some had started learning it as their first language, and some of the students studied it in middle school, and other students decided to start studying French on the first day of their high school career. Also, their linguistic backgrounds were different. The majority of students in the class spoke a second language, and were learning to speak French. So there were a lot of heritage speakers of other languages other than French, which made for some interesting conversations and also some interesting insights to how to better learn the language. Each fall I gave the apple, and as you can see by this chart, the average student entered into my class at my preparatory French class at intermediate low, except for in 2019 where we have an intermediate mid in listening, and then everything else was intermediate low. So it can be assumed that the average student is at an intermediate low. Of course, there were students who got all advanced, and there were even a few students who scored in the novice range, and then there were students who ran the gamut, but the average was the intermediate low. So there were 3 parts of the study plan in creating the study plan. First, the student came in during their lunch period and they sat down with me. I had a graphic organizer, a questionnaire that the students filled out, and they answered questions about their own personal strengths and weaknesses. After that discussion, they were given their Apple scores, and the Apple scores were explained to them, and we studied over what they meant. And then at the end of that, we put all of it together and created a study plan, making goals, monthly goals and quarterly goals for students to do extra work outside of class, ranging from watching French movies, doing using different software programs, reading other texts outside of class, and then checking in with this teacher. At the end of this meeting, the teacher made copies of the study plan and the Apple scores, and wrote a small letter to the parents explaining what all of that it meant, and helped share those goals with the parents. There was classroom and there was personalized instruction. Students were required to attend the 90-minute class every other day, and also they were required to check in once a quarter at least with the teacher and discuss where they're at and show evidence of their progression. And students also knew that they could come in at any time and receive personalized instruction before or after school. And of course, in 2017, they were able to come in during their lunch. Students were encouraged to ask questions, and if need be, special study sessions could be put together for students on a more regular basis. So I hope that this explained very clearly what I did in my study, from the school and the student population to the exams and what they did on the exams, to how we made the study plans, and then how the study plans were executed in and outside of the classroom, all ending with taking the AP French language exam. The results in our comparison group in 2016 was the end of my first year. 60% of the students passed, with 64.3% in the state and 76% in the nation. So we were behind the nation and the state. The next year in 2017, when students were working on their individualized study plans and we'd first implemented them in, 100% of our students passed the exam. And only 62.9% in the state passed and 76.8% in the nation passed. So we had a perfect year. It was 100% pass rate, and we were very proud of what happened that year. Sadly, the next year, things did change. We dropped down to 67% pass rate, but we were still ahead of the state at 65.1. However, both the state and us, we were significantly lower than the 76.8% in the national pass rate. In 2019, it's even more discouraging to see that the 2019 group had a lower score than the original comparison group with a 57% pass rate. The state had a 70.9% pass rate, and the nation had a 76% pass rate. So we were very disappointed with those numbers. There are a lot of factors that go into an action research study that make the outcome very different from year to year. However, the 4 things that I noticed that were probably the most influential on the results were the amount of time students spent in French classes or using the French language. Though all of the students did see, the average student did enter into the AP Prep course at a intermediate low to intermediate mid, in some cases, level. Students who had more of a background in the language were more likely to have less of an effective filter, to have more confidence in their abilities, and were willing to take more risks when it came to using the language than the students who started in middle school or on the very first day of school. So I did see that students who had more years of French instruction, though they didn't necessarily know more than other students, they were able to use it more confidently. There were differences in APPLE scores within years and between years. So there are always differences in some students getting advanced, some students getting novice, and some in between. But then there were differences with how the students did from year to year as well. And that is something to be taken into account. And it was also a performance assessment. So students were able to prepare for the exam. And so that would make a difference in their APPLE scores. Study plans were put into place using the same questionnaire that did not change much throughout the 3 years. And the students had the original meeting, and in 2018 and 2019, they did not meet with me during lunch because I did not have a prep period due to a rise in interest in taking levels 1 and 2 in French, and me being the only French teacher. I added an extra section of French 1 and an extra section of French 2 to accommodate those students, and was not able to have a preparation period during those years. And so the students had to meet with me before and after school, which then affected the personalized instruction due to extracurricular activities and family and friends and other responsibilities, and then also the regular students sleeping through their alarm. Personalized instruction was cut significantly, though it was required that a student check in once a quarter. In 2017, students were able to check in once a quarter, plus maybe 1 or 2 extra times a quarter, and also felt empowered to come in and visit with me and ask questions just in passing, ask for some feedback. Whereas in 2018 and 2019, the students didn't have those regular check-ins with me. Their check-ins that we did have were usually brief and without a lot of discussion about what was going on. And so because of this, we saw the uptick in when we saw the study plans and the personalized instruction that were able to be achieved together. The students did better on the tests. There's a lot of wonderful anecdotal stories I have from those years of students who did implement these study plans and are now working in fields where they use their French language every day. Some are living in France and going to school. And one student is certain that Black M and his music is the reason he passed the AP exam, because he listened to him every day before his soccer practices. I do not know if French rap music really has that ability to raise and augment scores. There could be further research done on that. However, what I did find was the combination of study plans and individualized instruction increases scores on the Advanced Placement French Language and Culture test and the student's overall proficiency in the language. Thank you for listening to this, and I look forward to answering your questions.